Hello friends, I welcome you to the module of verbal reasoning. Under verbal reasoning, certain topics that we'll be discussing are statement conclusions, decision making, deriving conclusions from passages, deductive reasoning, and many more. Verbal reasoning is definitely an integral part of verbal ability section of any entrance examination. If you're preparing for any of the management entrance examinations in India like CAT, MAT, SNAP, XAT, Narsi Monji aptitude test or any other test, this module will be of great help to you. Verbal reasoning also plays a very crucial role for the entrance examinations conducted for the institutes abroad. GMAT, which is Graduate Management Admission Test, gives around 1/3 weightage to verbal reasoning, critical reasoning being more precise. Similarly, in various other examinations like Bank PO and others, you would see verbal reasoning plays a very crucial role. So today in the session, we'll be discussing on some of the very basics of verbal reasoning, and we would also take you through the first topic of verbal reasoning, which is getting or deriving conclusions from the statements. So let us see what is this topic all about. Statement conclusions. In these questions, there is a statement or a paragraph. It's also known as an argument. It's given to us followed by a few choices, wherein we have to identify that which of the given conclusions represents the paragraph or the argument in the best possible manner. Now, what is a conclusion? Conclusion means a fact that can be truly inferred or concluded from the contents of a given sentence or passage. There is some direct information that the author presents in the paragraph, which is also known as premises. So a conclusion is what can be directly concluded or what can be directly inferred from that given piece of information. Let us try and understand it better with the help of some examples. You as a test taker are required to analyze the given statements, understand their indirect implications. When I say indirect implication, I am referring to the inference. Keep in mind how a conclusion is different from an inference. A conclusion is directly derived. On the other hand, inference is indirectly stated, or it is to be indirectly derived from the given paragraph. And then you have to decide which of the given conclusions logically follows from the given statements. And as said, you should understand and you should be clear of the difference between a conclusion and an inference. Conclusion is direct in nature. On the other hand, inference is an indirect statement. The directions are as follows for the question. A statement is given followed by two conclusions, 1 and 2. You should mark your answer as choice A if only conclusion 1 follows and not 2. You should mark your answer as B if only conclusion 2 follows and not 1. If either 1 or 2 follows, in that case your answer is choice C. If both follow, that means both conclusions 1 and 2 follow, in that case you should mark choice E as your answer. If none of the two follows, that means neither 1 nor 2 follows, then your answer is choice D. Now I'm sure you must have this question in your mind, that how C and E are different from each other. C and E are distinctly different from each other in the sense, in E, when both independently and individually are following, in that case you'll be marking E as your answer choice. On the other hand, C should be marked only when 1 follows and 2 doesn't, and 2 follows and 1 doesn't. That means the two conclusions should be mutually contradictory to each other. In case of E, both conclusions independently and individually, I repeat, individually and independently, both of them should follow and both of them should be logically correct. But in case of C, only one at a time can follow. It can be either one or two. If one follows, two doesn't, or if two follows, one doesn't follow. Let us understand it better with the help of some examples and practice questions coming up in front of us now. Looking at the first question here we have a statement given followed by two conclusions. We need to read the statement, we need to understand it thoroughly, and then we would decide which conclusion logically follows from the statement, and accordingly we'll be marking our answer as choice A, B, C, D or E. Let us read the statement. The question says, sealed tenders are invited from competent contractors experienced in executing construction jobs. The statement here seems to be some kind of advertisement which is given. It says that tenders are invited from the contractors who are competent and those who have experience in executing the construction jobs. Let's see what are the conclusions. Conclusion 1. Tenders are invited only from the experienced contractors. And conclusion 2. It is difficult to find competent tenderers in construction jobs. What do you think, as per your opinion, should be the answer? You can take a few seconds time in just deciding what should be the correct answer. Did you get the answer? No, not a problem. Let's understand, let's have a discussion. The statement says that tenders are invited from the contractors who are competent and who have experience. Conclusion 1, which says tenders are invited only from experienced contractors, definitely follows because that is what is stated. Let me present another example of the similar sort in front of you. Let's say there is a job opening which is there in Times of India. It says we require electronics engineers for our job. Engineers should have either completed the course or you should be in the final year of your engineering. So that means that opening is definitely only for electronics engineers. That is what is stated. Same thing applies here. Tenders are invited from competent and experienced contractors. That means other contractors cannot apply for it. So conclusion 1 definitely and directly follows the given statement. 2 now. It is difficult to find competent tenderers in construction jobs. That is nowhere implied from the given paragraph. It might be easy or it is difficult that we have no information of. Remember, in such questions, you cannot assume anything that is not implied or that is not directly stated. Assume only what the author intends to say. You cannot assume anything which is beyond the given scope. So since only one follows, the answer should be choice A, which is only one. Let's look at the solution here. According to the statement, tenders are invited from contractors experienced in executing construction jobs. So conclusion 1 follows. The availability of competent tenderers in construction is not mentioned. So that is why the conclusion 2 doesn't follow. The answer is choice A if only conclusion 1 follows. Have a look at the question, just try and digest it in a better manner before we proceed on to the next question. Let's see what is the second question coming in front of you. The second question, second statement says, the manager humiliated Sachin in the presence of his colleagues. Conclusions. The manager did not like Sachin. Second conclusion, Sachin was not popular with his colleagues. I'm sure you must have found this one a little easier. Yes. So what is the answer choice? You guessed it right. Let's have a look at the question. The question says that the manager humiliated Sachin in front of everybody around, in front of his colleagues. Now the first conclusion, the manager did not like Sachin, is nowhere implied. There can be many reasons why Sachin was humiliated. Probably he was given some target, he was given some deadline, he was not able to complete that target within the given timeline. Or there can be many more reasons behind it. We cannot assume, we cannot infer that the manager did not like Sachin. That is clearly beyond the scope. The second conclusion, which says Sachin was not popular with his colleagues. The only information given with us is the manager humiliated Sachin in front of his colleagues. Now, what do his colleagues actually think about him? That we don't have information about. So the answer should be none of the two, that is choice D. Let's read out the solution here. None of the given conclusions is either mentioned or can be drawn from the facts given in the statement. Hence, the answer will be choice D, that is neither one nor two follows. Question number 3 coming up here for you. The distance of 900 kilometers by road between Bombay and Jafra will be reduced to 280 kilometers by sea. This will lead to a saving of rupees 7.92 crores per annum on fuel. Let us understand what the author means to say here. He says that distance between these two locations by road, which is 900 kilometers, if you travel it by sea, it will be reduced to 280 kilometers, which would further lead to saving of rupees 7.92 crores per annum on fuel. Let's see what are the conclusions. Conclusion 1. Transportation by sea is cheaper than that by road. What do you think? Is it logically correct to say so? No. See, we only have been given with the information about these two places, Bombay and Jafra. We cannot say that transportation by sea is always cheaper than that by road. Don't generalize. Keep it only to the given scope of information. Beyond that, we cannot assume anything on our own. So conclusion 1 definitely doesn't follow. Second conclusion. Fuel must be saved to the greatest extent. Now, one more thing about these questions. Any conclusion which probably does not directly follow from the given statement, but it may be indirectly implied, or it is one of the suggestive courses of action. It is one of the good things to be encouraged. So you should take that as a conclusion. So second conclusion is something that indirectly follows. Answer should be choice 2, choice B, that is only 2 follows. Let's read out the solution here. According to the statement, sea transport is cheaper than road transport. In the case of route from Bombay to Jafra, not in all cases. So that is why conclusion 1 doesn't follow. The statement stresses on the saving of fuel. So conclusion 2 does follow. Answer is choice B, which is only 2. Let's look at the fourth question now. The statement here says, Mr. X is one of the probable candidates shortlisted for the post of Director of KLM Institute. Be attentive to the words probable candidates. That means he is not definitely going to be selected, but there are good chances since he's been shortlisted. Let's see what are the conclusions. Conclusion 1. Mr. X will be selected as the Director of KLM Institute. And 2 says Mr. X will not be selected as the Director of KLM Institute. Now remember, there was a choice which said either of the 2 follow. That means if 1 follows, 2 doesn't. And if 2 follows, 1 doesn't. And the 2 choices should be mutually contradictory to each other. In this kind of case, we cannot take answer as choice E, which was both, because both will not follow. If 1 happens, 2 doesn't. If 2 happens, 1 doesn't. So in that case, we would select choice C as the answer, which is either of the two follow. Choice C, either follow, not both. Let's have a few more practice questions, because this particular chapter that we are discussing about is more about practice and less of concepts. So the more you would practice, you would see yourself feeling more comfortable with this area. Apart from different management entrance examinations that we talked about initially, this area of statement conclusions has also been given a lot of weightage to in various aptitude tests, like for engineering services, the paper that is conducted is IES, or for CSAT, Civil Services Aptitude Test, which was introduced just a year back. So this area is definitely going to play a very crucial role in all kind of verbal aptitude tests. So let us continue further with a few more practice questions. The next question coming up here for you, let's read it out. The statement says, in order to enforce discipline on transport operators, the state government has decided to impose a fine of rupees 5,000 for the first excess ton loaded in transport vehicle and rupees 1,000 for each subsequent ton. So it basically says that in order to enforce discipline, a particular fine is being imposed on transport operators. Let's see what are the conclusions. The first conclusion says, people will follow some discipline when severe fine is imposed. Yes, precisely. That is the basic purpose of imposing a severe fine on people. See, as human beings, we all have a tendency of not abiding by the rules, not following the rules. So when an authority or administration or government is imposing some fine, the purpose is not at all to collect revenue out of that. The purpose is to enforce that rule, enforce discipline in the people. So statement 1 is indirectly inferred from the given statement. Let's see what is the conclusion 2 say. The state government has failed to understand the problem of transport operators. Nowhere in the statement the author cites what is the problem of transport operators and whether the government has been able to understand that problem or not. We have not been provided with any kind of information on the same. Hence, statement 2 cannot be considered as an indirect implication also. So the answer here should be choice 1, that is A, since only conclusion 1 follows. I hope you must be developing a better understanding of the topic now. Let us proceed to the next example now. Research has proved that people eating high-fat diets coupled with decreased level of exercises are prone to heart diseases. So the author basically talks about two things here. One is increasing high-fat diet. Second is decreasing level of exercises. So increasing diet, increasing high-fat diet and decreasing level of exercises is what is causing heart diseases. Let's see what are the conclusions. The first conclusion, people should reduce their high-fat diet as a preventive method. Yes, always. Since the problem has been stated, the problem comprises of high-fat diet and decreasing level of exercise. So anything which is reducing the severity or magnitude of problem should always be encouraged. So statement 1 follows as a conclusion. Let us see what is the second conclusion. People must have sufficient level of exercise to reduce their chances of having heart diseases. The way conclusion 1 covers one facet, similarly conclusion 2 is covering another aspect, and both should be definitely taken. Answer should be both of them, both the conclusions, that is choice E, conclusion 1 and conclusion 2. Choice E, both follow. Let's see what is the next question coming up now. The statement here says, only those candidates with exceptional talent and strong motivation should apply. An advertisement. So there is an advertisement which basically says that candidates with exceptional talent and strong motivation should apply. Only such candidates should apply. Conclusions. 1. Candidates not fulfilling these criteria will not be considered. Definitely, since the author clearly states only those candidates should apply. Let me give you another example. A child said, I only need chocolates. That means obviously he will not be considering anything else. He needs only chocolates. So only those candidates should apply means that candidates who don't fulfill this particular criteria will not be considered. 1 follows. Let's see what happens to 2. 2 says it is possible to decide clearly who's talented and motivated. Yes, definitely. I need creative people. That means I obviously know how to judge creativity. I know I can identify who's creative and who's not. So if the advertisement is talking about these abstract qualities like exceptional talent and strong motivation, that means it is definitely possible for those interviewers, for the advertiser, to identify who's talented and motivated and who's not. Answer should be choice E, which considers both of them. Both 1 and 2 follow. Let's continue further. Question number 9 now. Statement. Book your flat before 15th June and avail interest-free loan from the builders. An advertisement. So an advertisement which states that if you book your flat before 15th June, you will be able to avail a loan that will be interest-free. Conclusions. No flat will be booked afterwards. Nowhere does the author imply to say so. He just says that if you book your flat before 15th, you will be getting a loan that is interest free. But that does not mean that after 15th June you cannot book a flat. You can always do so. It's just that you will not be able to avail an interest free loan. So 1 is wrong. 1 cannot be logically deduced from the paragraph. 2 now. After 15th June, no loan will be provided. The way we have discarded conclusion 1, similar fashion we'll have to discard conclusion 2 also. The author doesn't anywhere say that any loan will not be provided after 15th June. He just says that if you would like to have interest-free loan, you should do it before 15th June. So that is why both the conclusions need to be discarded. None of them will be considered. The answer should be choice D, which is neither 1 nor 2 follows. None follows. Let's see what is the next question coming up here now. The statement. Being from a business family, Chandan was apparently convinced by his parents and other family members to join the family trade. Now let's see what is the given information about. It talks about this boy called as Chandan. He was convinced by his family members and his parents to join the family trade because he was from a business family. Conclusions. 1. People should take up their family profession so that family prospers. Remember, it's always wrong to move from specific to general. Since the author gives us the information about a specific case about Chandan, that may not apply to everybody. Since Chandan was convinced by his family, being from business family background, that does not mean that everybody from business family background should take the same move. It may not always apply. Now, since statement 1 is a very generalized statement, that's a very widened statement, it has a very wide scope, so 1 cannot be taken. 2 now. It is necessary to keep family members happy by choosing family's business. It has the same flaw as statement 1 had. Generic statements, generalized statements need to be ruled out as soon as possible. Since stated, the paragraph is talking particularly about Chandan, it may not hold true for everybody. So that is why you cannot even infer 2 also. So the answer should be none of the 2 conclusions follows, because both are very generalized in nature. Both cannot be taken because the given paragraph talks about a specific case of Chandan. Answer should be choice D, which is neither 1 nor 2 follows. None follows. Let's see what is the next question. 11th one. It says a statement. When I no longer enjoy playing cricket, or if I feel I'm blocking a youngster's place, then only I will quit. Statement of the captain of country Z's cricket team. Now this statement needs to be understood very carefully because I'm sure it must develop some kind of confusion. So there is a statement of the captain of a particular country's cricket team given. He's presenting 2 conditions for quitting. The conditions are, first of all, when I no longer enjoy playing cricket. That means after a point of time when I start feeling that I'm not enjoying cricket anymore, I will quit the game of cricket. Or second condition, if I feel I'm blocking a youngster's place. In my country, if there is a youngster who's emerging cricket superstar, and if I feel I'm blocking his place, so in that case I will quit. The first condition, when I no longer enjoy playing cricket. Second condition, when I feel I'm blocking a youngster's place, so in that case only I will quit. Let's see what are the conclusions. The first conclusion. Right now the country Z doesn't have any promising youngster. No. The captain does not say that whenever in my country there is a cricketer, I will quit. No. When he feels that he is blocking somebody's place, so in that case he will quit. Not necessarily always. Second one who enjoys the game of cricket has the right to be the captain of the country's cricket team. Now it has the same flaw as the previous argument had. Here, the given paragraph, the given statement talks about this captain of country Z's cricket team. That may not always hold true for everybody. Remember, any statement which is very generalized, which is very generic, make sure you eliminate it. That cannot be considered. So statement 2 was comparatively easier to eliminate here. Statement 1 has some kind of doubt. It has some sort of flaw. Statement 1 cannot be considered as a conclusion. Right now the country Z doesn't have any promising youngster. Both the conclusions cannot be considered here. Answer should be none of the 2, that is choice D. None follows. Choice D will be the answer here. Let's continue further with the next question now. The question here is statement. Mr. X, an officer, is alleged to be involved in cases of corruption in office ABC along with a group of persons. Now what you need to be careful here about is alleged to be involved. Alleged to be involved means is said to be involved. It's not necessary that he has been found guilty of the charges. It's just that it's probably been rumored. This is what is being said about him. So Mr. X is alleged to be involved in the cases of corruption along with a group of other people. Now let us see what are the conclusions. The first conclusion. Mr. X may be a corrupt official from office ABC. Yes, there are good chances of the same, because the given statement is an open-ended statement. It says may be a corrupt official, which is always a possibility. Since he is alleged to be involved, though it is not necessary that he must be involved, but since the first conclusion says may be a corrupt official, so always yes. Second, Mr. X may not be involved in the cases of corruption in office ABC. The way we are considering statement 1 as logically true statement In the similar manner, we'll have to take statement 2 also as a logically true statement, since both are indicative of two different possibilities and both are equally and logically correct. So conclusion 1 and 2 both independently and individually follow, and they are mutually contradictory of each other also. And that is why the answer option here will be choice C and not E. Remember the difference of C and E that we had discussed on? In case of E, both should be independent and individually correct. In case of C, they should be mutually contradicting each other also. That means if he is found corrupt official, he will not be not found corrupt. That means if one follows, two doesn't, and vice versa. If conclusion 2 follows, 1 doesn't follow. The answer option which is correct here will be choice C, that is either follows. Yes. Let's continue further with the next question now. Statement: no part of the education of a politician in a democracy is more indispensable than the fighting of election. Indispensable means which is integral, which is certain, which is undetachable. So that's a politician's statement. The statement says that in a democracy, if a politician has to serve, so nothing is more important than learning the art of fighting an election. The conclusion: 1. A politician should be highly educated to influence people and win elections. And 2 says, to succeed in politics, it is necessary to learn, finding, practice the art of electioneering. Let's consider each one of them individually now. The first conclusion says, a politician should be highly educated to influence the people and win elections. Since the statement of politician talks about no formal education, the politician's statement is considering just the art of fighting an election as the education. He doesn't talk about high education, nor does he talk about influencing people. So statement 1 is logically untrue. This is logically false. This does not follow from the given statement. Conclusion 2. To succeed in politics, it is necessary to learn, finding, practice the art of electioneering. Yes, that is exactly what the statement of politician says. He says no other part of a politician's education in democracy is more important than fighting an election. So 2 in a way represents the same thing as the given statement talks about. So conclusion 2 follows from the given statement. The answer should be choice B here, which is only 2 follows. Yes. So let's continue further with a few more practice questions now. The next question here. Please try and attempt the questions alongside when we are doing the questions here. That will help you in boosting your morale and increasing the level of your confidence. Let's continue. The question says, the maximum number of vacancies for the clerical cadre is 40, which will be filled through this recruitment round. An advertisement of a company A. So the maximum number of openings that they have for the clerical cadre is 40, which is going to be filled through this recruitment round, an advertisement. Conclusions. The company A may appoint less than 40 clerks in this round. There is always this possibility existing. The given statement says that the maximum number of openings is 40. So what if they don't find many suitable candidates for the job? So it's not necessary that they are going to select exactly 40 candidates. The company may always appoint less than 40 in this round which is going to be conducted. So 1 is logically true. Second conclusion now, the company A may appoint 40 clerks in this round. Since it is given that the maximum number of vacancies is 40, that means the maximum number of candidates that the company is looking for is 40. So the company may appoint all 40 in this particular round. There is always a possibility that the company is finding all suitable candidates applying, so it may select all 40 clerks in this round. 2 also follows. But one thing that you must have noticed, conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 both are mutually contradictory to each other. That means both cannot sustain, both cannot continue at the same time. If one logically follows, 2 doesn't, or if 2 follows, 1 doesn't. So either of them will be correct. This is very similar to another question we did, wherein we talked about Mr. X being alleged to be involved in the charges of corruption. He may be corrupt or he may not be corrupt. So this question is also exactly a replica of the same type. The answer here again should be choice C, which is either of the 2 follows. Let's continue further. Let's see this next question now. A statement: 70% of world's data is processed on XYZ companies' platforms. An advertisement of XYZ, a computer manufacturing company. So a company's advertisement, which is basically boasting of its popularity and the amount of work that it is doing. It says 70% of the data of the entire world is processed on our computers' platforms. The conclusions. Conclusion 1. There is no other company in the world which produces platforms of data processing. No, the statement does not imply so. The advertisement of the company is basically boasting of the amount of business that they have. 70% of the data is processed on this company's platforms. But that does not mean that there is no other company. Obviously, it is validated from the given information itself. 70% is processed by XYZ. Where is the rest 30% coming from? Obviously from the other companies. So that invalidates conclusion 1, that there is no other company in the world. There must be definitely a few more companies. So 1 is logically untrue by nature. Let's see what does 2 say. Second statement says, company XYZ has to make more efforts to market its platforms. That is also nowhere given. Since the given information only talks about an advertisement wherein the company is talking about its popularity, but that does not mean that this company is making more efforts than the other companies are. So none of the 2 conclusions will be considered. The answer shall be choice D, which is neither of the 2. Let's continue further with the next question. Statement: the eligibility for admission to the course is minimum second class master's degree. However, the candidates who have appeared for the final year exam of master's degree can also apply. So the eligibility for the particular admission to this course is you should have completed your master's with minimum second class, or if not, somebody who has appeared for the final year examinations of master's degree can also apply. Let's see what are the conclusions. First conclusion: all candidates who have yet to get their master's degree will be there in the list of selected candidates. This is actually a distorted conclusion from the given fact. The given statement just says that either you have a second class master's degree, if not, you must have appeared for the final year examinations of master's degree. But that does not mean that all candidates who are yet to get their master's degree are going to be there in the list. What about the students who did not even apply for the course? So conclusion 1 doesn't follow. Conclusion 2: all candidates having obtained second class master's degree will be there in the list of selected candidates. This particular conclusion is again formulated on the same basis as conclusion 1 was. All candidates having obtained second class degree will be there. That's not necessary. Again, the same possibility emerges. What happens to the candidates who did not even apply for this particular course? So only those candidates who are willing to and who have applied for, their names are going to be there in the list of selected candidates. Answer again should be choice D, which is none of the two. Choice D, neither follows. Let's continue further. The president of XYZ party indicated that 25 independent members of Legislative Assembly, 25 independent MLAs, are seriously considering various options of joining some political party. But in any case, all of them collectively will join one party only. So here we have a statement by the president of XYZ party, which is a political party. It says 25 independent MLAs are considering an option of joining some political party, be it ours or some other party. That is nowhere given. It's not necessary that they'll be joining XYZ party only. Remember, this is just a statement which is being made by the president of XYZ. But one thing is for sure, that all these 25 will collectively join one party only. Conclusion 1. The 25 independent MLAs will join XYZ party in a short period of time. Though there is a possibility, you may not always be sure, you may not always say so. Let's consider statement 2 once. The 25 independent MLAs will join some other political party in a short period of time. That is also not necessary. There is always a possibility of these 25 independent MLAs joining XYZ. You cannot rule out this possibility outrightly. So that is why we again come back to the same answer option, wherein there are two choices which are independently and individually correct, and at the same time they are mutually contradictory to each other. Remember which answer choice was that? Yes, you guessed it right. It was choice C. Answer should be choice C, that is either follows. Only one follows at a time. Both are not true. Let's look at the next statement. We follow some of the best and effective teaching learning practices used by leading institutes all over the world. A statement of a professor of MN Institute. So this is a statement by MN's professor which says that we follow some of the best and effective teaching learning practices which are being used by leading institutes all over the world. 1. MN Institute is one of the leading institutes of the world. That's not necessary. The professor's statement just implies this much, that we follow the same teaching practices as the leading institutes all across the world are. But that does not mean that MN is one of the leading institutes of the world. So choice 1 is discarded. Let's consider the second conclusion now. Whatever is being followed by world's leading institutes will definitely be good and useful. That is also not necessary. The professor's statement only says that we follow what leading institutes across the world are doing, but that does not mean that it will definitely be good and useful. So that rules out the possibility of statement 2 being logically correct. The answer should be choice D, which is neither of the two follows. 1 and 2 both are logically incorrect statements. Yes, choice D, neither follows. Let's look at the last question here for this particular session before we wind it up. Statement. My first and foremost task is to beautify the city. If city X and Y can do it, why can't we do it? So statement of Municipal Commissioner of City Z after taking over charge. So he says, so here we have a statement by the Municipal Commissioner of City Z. He has recently taken over charge. He says that if X and Y can beautify their cities, why can't we beautify it? Conclusions. 1. The people of city Z are not aware about the present status of ugliness of their city. What is given in the statement is just the opinion of the municipal commissioner. We don't know whether people of the city are actually aware about the present state or not. That is an information which is nowhere cited. So one cannot be considered to be logically true. Second conclusion now. The present commissioner has worked in city X and Y and has good experience of beautifying cities. The only given information is if X and Y can beautify their cities, why can't we do that? But that does not mean that the present commissioner has actually worked with the two cities and he actually has experience of beautifying cities. So that is why we will not consider any of the two conclusions to be logically valid. The answer here should be choice D, which is none of the two conclusions follows. Choice D. So here we've come to the end of the session, wherein we discussed about statement conclusion, reiterating the same fact that statement conclusions is one of the important parts of verbal reasoning. So this was an area which was the very basic area of critical and verbal reasoning. We'll continue more with tougher areas and more significant areas for your entrance examination in the sessions to come. For now, we would hope that you would practice on all these questions once again thoroughly, and you would also pick up a standard book wherein you would start doing the questions from. So we end the session here. Hope the session was useful for you. Thank you.